Good point. Good catch. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome, welcome, good evening. It is such a pleasure to have each and every one of you here. Those of us that are here in our midst, those of us that are joining us on our live webcast, and of course those that are still navigating the thick fog to get here. I am sure we will have some late stragglers coming in for this incredible Erev Shabbat service tonight. It is Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of song. It is the Shabbat that we talk about, and we will talk a lot about this as our service goes on, but it is the Shabbat that we talk about the journey that the Israelites took through the Red Sea, highlighted by the songs that we sang. We are going to get a chance this evening, a rarity on Friday night, to actually take the Torah out, because there is something very, very special and unique about this Torah portion. It is a one-of-a-kind Torah portion, and we're going to see why a little bit later. But traditionally, congregations all around the world, since we all follow the same calendar of holidays and when we read the Torah this evening, congregations everywhere around the world are talking about Shabbat Shirah and celebrating with song. And we are no exception this evening. We are going to fill our sanctuary with so much noise and so much song and so many melodies that it is going to pour out, and again, hopefully maybe even transcend that fog that is outside. So we have multiple different groups that are singing with us here this evening. They are going to be up and around the bima all throughout the service. We have our incredible Shul of Rock Band, who's going to be joining us on our instruments here. We have, and of course, led by our conductor, I'm thinking of, what's that? I was going to say Drazen, Nicole Drazen. I know, I'm looking at Mitchell, and yes, Nicole of all names. So we have our incredible band. Of course, we have our harmonizers, our junior choir that has been practicing so hard for this evening. We are joined by our high notes, members of our high notes, our adult choir as well. We are, of course, accompanied, as we are in these wonderful evenings, by John Bowen, our intrepid and incredible, musically talented phenom of a pianist here on the piano this evening. And the only piece missing to all of that is your own voices. This is not a passive Shabbat. This is not a Shabbat to sit and to just watch, but we invite you to sing along, so much so that you do not even have to worry about those blue sidurim that are sitting in front of you this evening. Everything you need to know is going to be up here on our screen to follow along, so your hands are free to get your diaphragm set, to get your shoulders back, and to join us in song, both classics, from the Jewish world, as well as stage and screen. So with that, as we begin our Shabbat service this evening, I'm going to welcome up all of our singers up to the front of the bima for our opening song. Saw some of you not know what to do with your hands at that point. Do you clap? Do you put them together? Do you wave? I think on Shabbat Shira, we are more than happy to give our adulation to our singers up here. So very well deserved. Thank you guys so much. All right, we have another opening song from our harmonizers and our Shul of Rock. This one may sound a little more familiar in the Jewish piece. continue with our Shabbat service this evening with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. And for that honor, I would like to invite up any of our parents of our junior choir or our Shul of Rock band who have given the time and who have devoted the lives of their kids on all of the things they could be doing in this world to include singing here in the sanctuary. So if there are parents among you, I would invite you to come up. Don't be shy. I will sing right along with you. You need not know anything but how to light a candle. Very low barrier to entry. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzevanu lehadlik ner shel anyone that wants to pick up the wine. Don't be bashful. It's the first time I've seen a group of parents who don't jump at the wine glass. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Thank you guys all so much. Thank you. Thank you, Yasher Koach. Shabbat is that time when we welcome in not just the hours of Shabbat, but for many people they feel that they are welcoming in the true spirit of the moment, the true spirit of God, the true spirit of Shabbat that fills every part of us, that embodies us, that allows us to feel a little bit higher, a little bit special for the hours of Shabbat. And so the words of Lecha Dodi were written as a poem to express that into words as the Kabbalists sat on the hills of Svat trying to figure out how to take the personification of all they were feeling inside and somehow give it words. And so they came up with the words of Lecha Dodi that we will see on the screen ahead of us. We are going to do 3 verses. We'll do the first verse, the second verse, and the 9th verse, and on that 9th verse, we'll invite everyone to rise, face the door, as together we welcome in the Shabbat bride. So the words of Lecha Dodi, joined by our incredible Shul of Rock band. Shemot So excited they were about welcoming in Shabbat, they had to do it twice. Only makes sense. We'll ask everyone to please remain standing as together we chant the words of the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Leolam Va'ed. And we invite back up our harmonizers for our special song, Shema Shema.
Oh, this is everybody.
Oh, this is everybody, even better.
So I'm going to introduce it, because I think you guys heard it if you were here Sunday, but other than that, it's a little new. To my knowledge, we've only done this song here one time. That was at J School this past Sunday. It's a song and it's a prayer. It's called Shema Shema. It was introduced to me as an African Shema, but I don't actually know if that means it's from Africa or if it's done in a style, so I'm not sure. So we're just calling it Shema Shema. I'm up here because I'm going to teach you your part, okay? And there's some clapping involved, all right? Your words are easy. Shema Shema, that's it. Shema means to hear or to pay attention, which is what we want to do for this. I'll do the verses, it'll go a little quicker than teaching all that, okay? So, here we go. I'm sorry. Here we go, I'm gonna go through it once. You're gonna do this twice in a row, ready? It's gonna be Shema, 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 Shema. Shema, 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 Shema. Now we did clapping on Sunday, right? We did Shema, 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 Shema. Shema, 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 Shema. Okay, good? We're gonna start. All right, you're up first. Shema, 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 Shema. Shema, 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 Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Echad. Shema, 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 Shema. Shema, 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 Shema. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto. Baruch Shem Leolam Va'ed. Shema, 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 Shema. Shema, 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 Shema. Gold stars for everyone. Thank you, everyone.
You guys are all recruited for the choir. Congratulations. You may be seated. And we continue with the chanting of V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha u'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'elech asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam בשבתך ביתך ובלכתך בדרך וכשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים ללא לחם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, Lehiot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem emet. The stories that we talked about this evening, that we will talk about this evening, as we said, focus on the Israelites' journey through the Red Sea. And not to jump the gun about where we're going to be in a few months when we gather around the Seder table, but to put you where we are right now in our Torah portion in Bishalach, the Israelites have just gotten through years of slavery in Egypt, 9 start and stops when they thought they were going to be granted their liberation, but yet were told, no, stay where you are. And finally, a 10th time when they did everything they could to get out of Egypt as quickly as they could and make it to the shores of the Red Sea. We learn from our tradition all kinds of different midrashim, all sorts of different things about this moment in time, but one of the things most poignant to me was the mindset of the Israelites. And if we believe that we are in the shoes at that moment, you're not talking about a string of bad luck. You're talking about generations of enslavement, generations of living in the most horrid conditions. Probably to the point where you didn't think you were ever going to see freedom. It wasn't something that was tangibly able to be attained. So after miracle and miracle, they make it to the shores of the Red Sea, and as the sea splits and the walls of water are on either side of them, they struggle for the words. What can we even begin to say as we walk ourselves to freedom? And so, as we'll see in a moment, there's many things that they sing and say, but one way that we remember it, one way that we say we will never forget what it was like to have that moment in our shared history, are the words we add to each and every service, the words of the Micha Mocha. And so this evening, in honor of the Micha Mocha, in honor of this moment in our service, we are going to highlight one very special moment, one very special person, one person for whom I would argue, and I have argued, this moment would not have been remotely possible without them, and that is Miriam, Moses' sister, but I would say rather one of our matriarchs, one of the people that led us to freedom. And the words that we will sing come from another giant in the Jewish world, Debbie Friedman, whose lyrics and tunes so many of us grow up singing and still include today. Her words live on, as do Miriam's, through her song. So together we invite up everyone to join us for singing Miriam's song and her march to freedom. If you don't know, the words are in English. They will be up on the screen in front of us. We invite you, please, to sing along.
Followed her, just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice and song, and sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed
We continue with our service with the singing of Vishamru, the way that we welcome in the Shabbat and remember our commandment to celebrate the holiday with all of our ruach and all of our strength. And so we once again invite up our harmonizers to lead us in the Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat letorata berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדור בטעם ברית עולם. בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדור בטעם ברית עולם. ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדור בטעם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדור בטעם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדור בטעם ברית עולם. Thank you guys. Good job, harmonizers. This is normally the point in the service where we have our Amidah, we have that central prayer of the evening. And oftentimes, for our Shabbat Shalanu services, for our special services, we turn from the words of the Siddur and instead turn to the words of our heart. So in a moment together we will rise and spend just a few moments. If you so wish, your Siddurs are in front of you, and the Amidah does begin traditionally on page 164. But for others who don't want to look at the words of the page, instead I'd like to share with you a quick story about the power of song, something to meditate on as we think about the week that we had prior to this, as we think about a Shabbat that we can celebrate together, and we think about the week ahead. Once upon a time, as every good story starts, there was a royal family whose palace was so humongous that one of their very large rooms was completely empty. It seemed cold and lonely and echoey. And they wished to fill it. So they decided to hold a contest to find a person who could fill that room. The winner would get to live in the palace and receive a generous portion of royal riches. People came from far and wide to try and win. A builder brought bricks because they're so solid, but they were so heavy that they couldn't carry enough to fill the room. A rich person brought gold to add value to the room, but there just wasn't enough gold to be had. A farmer brought straw, since it was so light, and once you untied the bale, it spread out, but it just made a mess. In the back of the line was a small child who seemed to be carrying nothing at all. People noticed and wondered, why was this kid even there? Meanwhile, person after person after person was not successful in filling the room. And as the royal servants finished cleaning up the feathers that the last person had tried to fill it with, the palace guards realized the child was still patiently waiting. Seeing no harm and perhaps hoping for a good laugh, they invited the child up to try. The child promptly closed all the shades on the windows and asked for the doors to be closed as well. Only then did the child reach into their pocket and pull out a candle. They lit it and they began singing a song. In an instant, the room was filled. Realizing that with the simplest acts, using tools that are so easy on hand, the child had not only filled the room with light, but had also brought light to their spirits. The royal family looked at each other and smiled. So on this Shabbat, as we spend a few moments thinking about the gifts that we have, perhaps we can spend a little less time trying to look outwards for the tools to solve our problems, and instead look inside ourselves for a small light and for a small song to help fill our lives the same way that palace room was filled by the young child. So together we'll ask everyone to please rise, to spend a few moments in their own silent Amidah. For those that wish, page 164 begins it in our Siddur, but when you feel as if your Amidah is complete, we invite you to sit back down. We pause for a few moments. Say shalom b'brona, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. very special thank you. I missed her at the beginning of it, but to our own Kylie Rapp, who is not only our music teacher on Sundays, not only our accompanist here on the Bima for many Shabbatot, but is also the leader of our Harmonizers choir. So a huge thank you to Kylie for adding her voice and her musicality, her guitar playing, to our service this evening. Speaking of our service this evening, again, we get to that very bizarre thing on a Friday night. Not out of the ordinary, totally. It's not as if it never happens, but it does not happen that often that we get to take the Torah out on a Friday night. Now, we're not going to read the Torah tonight like we would on a Saturday, like with a bar or bat mitzvah, but we're going to look at something really special inside of the Torah. But before we can do that, before we can take the Torah out of the ark in a service, there are a couple things that we say, a couple ways that we do it. It makes it special. If I just went to the ark and opened it up and pulled the Torah out, then it would just be a normal old moment. But when we add a little bit of a blessing to it, a little bit of a special moment to it, we take a second and say, oh, this is a special moment in time. So we're going to ask everyone to please rise and to join us in the words of the screen as we take our Torah from the ark. Hi mitzion tetzeh Torah. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. And you may all be seated. Again, we're going to do things a little differently. No hakafah, we parade the Torah around because we're going to talk about what is inside the Torah. Now, couple pop quizzes. Who can tell me, we'll see if it's a bit of a trick question. Who can tell me what is inside here? So many answers. Yes, what do you think? Well, that is a Torah. You're exactly right. Correct answer, see? Grown-ups, don't be so scared. What else could you say is inside here? What's on? Yeah, what do you think?
I was just saying the first 5 books.
The first 5 books, good. Genesis, Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, and Numbers. What do you think we're in right now? Anyone know? What book do you think? Talking about the story of the Exodus, exactly. So we're in Exodus. See, now you know. Now you know if we're in Exodus, we're talking about the Exodus. What else is on this Torah? So we have sheets of, not really paper we know, but what do you think, Jack? Hebrew words, yes. What were you going to say, Mel? Blessings. There are lots of blessings in here. You guys are spot on. Thank goodness you guys are here in the front row. What do you think?
Loads of words.
There are loads of words. There are so many words in here that I'm going to show you what some of these words look like. Now, when we think of words on a page, let's see if this works too. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Test, 1, 2, there we go. When we think of words on a page, we often think of just words listed on a page, right? Like if I'm looking at words up here, there's lines and words, and usually the Torah looks just like that. In fact, I'm going to show you what the Torah normally looks like. Here is what the Torah normally looks like. Right? You guys have seen this before, right? So that's what our Torah normally looks like. And in fact, in all but 2 of the chapters in our Torah, the Torah looks just like that. It is a bunch of letters together with words, no punctuation, no vowels. So it takes a little bit of effort to read it, right? It looks a little differently than normal. But here is what this week's Torah portion looks like. Now, the whole portion is called Bishalach. That is the whole name for the big chunk of Torah we read this week, Bishalach. But there is a special part of Bishalach. Who can read it out loud? You can read it out loud. Shiryat Hayam. Oh, here we go. Now I'm going to ask any of our adults who went to Hebrew school, who might have been a Torah bucher in yeshiva. Can anyone read any of those words? I know what those words mean. I'll take any part of the words. You don't count, Lenan. Anyone? Yeah. Ooh, song. Yes. Shirat. So shir is a song, and when we say shirat, we're talking usually it's the conjunction of. So shiryat is the song of Hayam. Ooh, Hayam. Anyone know? Yam. I'll give you a hint. In the Yam, there might be lots of fish. In the Yam, there might be waves. What do you think? The ocean, the sea. Yeah, the song of the sea. Shiryat Hayam. That is the whole reason for Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of songs, because we sing the song of Shiryat Hayam. Now, we talked before about what a big moment in time this was for all of the Israelites who had escaped to freedom. And so much so, the Torah never wants us to forget how special that moment in our history was. And so this is what our Torah looks like in Shiryat Hayam. I'm going to walk it around so you can see it. So every Torah that you might see is going to have the same breakup for the Shiryat Hayam. It is spaced exactly to spec on what a Torah scribe, what a sofer would set it to. So if you look actually in that blue book that you have in front of you, not the Siddur, but the Chumash, the Torah, you'll actually see it in many Chumashim laid out just like this. And some people say that it has a couple different meanings. So if we look at it, anyone think what a meaning might be for why it looks like that? What do we think it looks like? No accidents in Judaism. So what do you think it looks like? What do you think, Mel? This definitely looks like a Torah. And you're right, it kind of has two sides like a Torah. What else do you think it might look like? What do you think? Ooh, wheels, okay. Anyone else? What do you think? Ooh, a ladder? That's a good one. What do you think, Shai? A what? A brick wall, okay. Brick wall is interesting. Some of our midrash about why it looks like that is that it is supposed to look like bricks. Because it's reminding us of bricks that we built when we were slaves in Egypt. The same reason that at the Passover Seder we eat charoset, because it reminds us of building those bricks. So some people say it's to remind us of the bricks that were being built in Egypt by us. What else do you think it looks like? Grown-ups, you can answer too. What do you think? What? Ooh, a fishing net. That's a really good one. I like it. I don't think there's any wrong interpretation. What do you think? People sleeping in a blanket. You know what? I like where your head is at. Because there are a lot of people, and in fact the conventional wisdom is that it is supposed to look like two columns of water on the side and the people marching down the middle to freedom. And so it is laid out special, again, to remind us of that moment of freedom. And in fact, the very first verse right here where it says, Az yashir Moshe b'nei Yisrael, and Moses and the children of Israel, et hashirah hazot la'Adonai, sang this song to God. And it lays out all these different verses. This one might sound familiar. This is the middle, smack dab in the middle of what it says. It says, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehila osei feleh. The words of the Mi chamocha. That is exactly where they come from, the smack middle of that parasha. Smack, exactly, right in the middle. So special, again, is our parasha this week that it is always remembered for those reasons. There is only one other section of the Torah that carries the same kind of weight, where the Torah is laid out differently, and that is the very last section of the Torah, where Moses is actually writing a poem, his farewell address. He's teaching him how to say goodbye, a la Hamilton. And it's laid out specifically because it is such a unique verse of poetry in the way that Moses imparts all of this wisdom. It is essentially the recap of the entire Torah in one single portion. So that tells you the weight at which different calligraphy in here means for the Torah. And that is part of the reason why it is so special. Now here's the last thing I'll say about the story. We know all about the story of going to freedom and all about all this kind of stuff. And we know that they got to the sea and the sea was there and they didn't know what to do. And they looked behind them and they had to... We kind of know the story. We've all seen Charlton Heston with his staff out like this. But my favorite midrash about the parting of the sea is that the sea did not part. Even when Moses raised his hand and made his appeal to God, it did not open. It wasn't until the very first person, Nachshon ben Amidav, he had the, we might say the chutzpah, the guts, the gall, without seeing the sea split in front of him, to take one step into the water, and it wasn't until someone had that faith that the sea then opened up in front of them. Some people actually say it wasn't until the water was up above his nose that the sea finally split, telling you how serious having faith in that moment might have been, that he thought this might be it, and the sea opened in front of him. So lots and lots of lessons to be learned from this week's parasha, lots of lessons to be learned from this Shabbat of song. And it is so wonderful to have each and every one of you here to help learn about it and pass on that tradition as we go forward. As the Torah is out, it is always an opportunity that we have to be able to wish a Misha Berach, to be able to wish extra healing to any of those who might be in need of extra spiritual, physical, mental healing. So as I look around the room, as my eyes meet yours, if there is a name that you would like to say either inside your heart or out loud to add to our prayer of Misha Berach, I'll invite you to say that name either out loud or inside as we look around the room. Together with all of those names we said out loud and in our hearts, we say, Baruch Atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. We praise you, O God, the source of healing, and if healing cannot come, we wish you the strength to deal with the situations at hand. So we say, Amen. So also on our Shabbat Shalanu, these special family Shabbats that we celebrate anyone who is having a special moment in their lives. So if there are any birthdays this month, this week, this year, if there are anniversaries, if there are engagements, if there are trips planned, if anyone has something they would like to come celebrate, what do you got?
We're going on a trip.
You're going on a trip? Great thing to celebrate. I love it. What do you think about?
We're going to the Bahamas.
The Bahamas? My gosh, can I come? Fine. Anyone else? Yeah, what do you think?
Portugal, Paris, and Peru.
I mean, I was going to offer you a lollipop, but I don't think that holds a candle to that, right? Well, if you're celebrating something, come on up. I'll ask you not to eat the candy now, but you can hold it until after. So come on up.
Can we have the other stuff too?
Well, yeah, of course you have the other stuff to get outside. But take something special. Always a tough choice. I know. Take one. But a lot more outside. So as we are talking about this special moment right now, I will say there is one very, very special birthday that no one mentioned. It happened this Thursday. Anyone know? Say it again. The trees! It's the Lorax. He speaks for the trees. Yes, this Thursday was the holiday of Tu B'Shvat, the holiday that we celebrate the trees. In fact, it is called the birthday of the trees. In Judaism, we have 4 different New Years. This is the New Year of the trees. We often say, well, why are we celebrating trees? It's gross and yucky outside. It's the middle of January or February, whatever it might be, because this is the time in Israel, in Eretz Yisrael, when the very first buds are coming onto those trees, when the very beginnings of spring are just starting to show their heads. And so we celebrate Tu B'Shvat, always, by the way, around this parasha, always around B'Shalach. So to those who celebrated, a very happy Tu B'Shvat. For those that didn't, it is not too late to plant a tree. I shared at our board meeting this past week that many used this opportunity this year on this Tu B'Shvat, on what was day 111 after the events of October 7th, to use the idea of Tu B'Shvat to plant a tree in someone's honor in Eretz Yisrael, something we can still do. We have some friends and some colleagues who went and just simply found names of people either who are currently being held, names of people who perished on that day, and added their name to the tree. But it's a great way to be able to think about the future generations. And there was a great video circulating around of people, volunteers, who went out to the very spot of the Nova Music Festival in the Otef Aza, in the spot that was so savagely attacked on October 7th, and decided to plant hundreds of trees to be able to fill the ground, not with the loss of life, but instead the rebirth and renewal. So it's something that all of us can take as we celebrate this Tu B'Shvat this past week. So happy birthday to our trees. Happy birthday to everyone who is celebrating. With that, we're going to continue our service with our Ilenu. We're also going to use that opportunity to return our Torah to the Ark. So I'm going to invite everyone to please rise.
Take it from the top.
עלינו לשבח לדור הכל, לתת גדולה יוצא בראשית, שלא עשני הרצות ולא סברנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים עומדים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר היה אדוני המלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא.
We remain standing as our thoughts turn to those who are no longer here within our midst. As we do at every moment that we come together, we think about those that are in our minds, that are in our hearts, those we think about at this season, seasons past and seasons future. Together this evening, we are remembering the yard sites of various members of our community. Florine Bornstein, mother of Linda Hertzberg, Edna Dollender, mother of Harry Dollender, Jerome Eckenthal, mother of Craig Eckenthal, Alan Foyer, father of Mitchell Foyer, Edward Klein Gillenwater, father-in-law of Isla Gillenwater, Dr. Aaron Kramer, grandfather of Mark Silberman, Dr. H. Barry Opel, father of Brett Opel, William Robb, husband of Ellen Robb and father of Laura Cohen, Freda Rosenberg, mother of Robin Friedman, Elliot Joseph Silberman, father of Mark Silberman, Herbert Zussman, father of Jessica Steinhardt, Ann Zimbelman, grandmother of Jessica Wang. And we think about those for whom death has taken in these most recent days, those families in Shloshim. Herman Benjamin Rosen, father of Corey Schwartz, Brad Spicer, friend of Jonah Kaplan, Myron S. Solid, father of Len Solid, and Phoebe Wolfchuk, mother of Marcia Heller. To all of those names, we add those of the American Armed Forces, of the Israeli Defense Forces who have so bravely given their lives in defense of our safety, security, and freedom. We think about those more than 1,300 people who have given their lives since October 7th in defense of a free state of Israel, and in fighting for freedom of the Jewish people around the world. So together with their names in our heads and our hearts, we join together with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivrach yirutei v'yalmich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'elam almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtapach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'reichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran v'yamad v'imru amen. Yehei shlei rama min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'rama, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We send peace to the hearts of those mourners around the world. Together we all say, Amen. You may be seated. So it has been a wonderful, wonderful Shabbat so far. We have an incredible closing song in just a moment, and then we are going to say our motzi over a very special type of challah that is under here. No, I'm going to leave that hanging there. So now you got to stay to find out what's actually under here as we welcome up those members of our choirs that are joining together in our closing song, the words of which you can see up on our screen, and we invite you, of course, to sing along. In the meantime, while they are getting that set up, and this is part of the job. This is the stuff they train you for, the stuff you spend years figuring out how to do. I am going to welcome up to the bima the president of our congregation, Greg Paradise, to share some very special announcements about upcoming programs here at the temple.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom.
Hello.
I am so glad you have joined us for our Shabbat service this evening, in person or virtually. We want to thank all of those who contributed to the Ruach of our Shabbat Shira Shalanu service, our wonderful pianist John Bowen, our harmonizers, Shul of Rock Band, Nicole Drazen, Kylie Rapp, Lynn Ann Cutler, and Ian Cutler. A few quick reminders. There is still time to register for tomorrow morning's Torah study. No experience is necessary, just a desire to learn. We'll be meeting at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. The weekend of February 9th to 11th, hopefully you saw the emails that came out. There's a very special artist in residence with paper midrash. There's a husband and wife dynamic duo, Isaac and Rabbi Shauna, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, Bernjagard Bialik.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Create new pathways into Torah. Combining deep Jewish scholarship with comic books and pop culture for a unique take on traditional texts. The weekend will be filled with opportunities for everyone to learn and show their inner creativity. Coming up on Friday, February 23rd is a very special Shabbat celebrating Scout Shabbat. Any Scouts will have an opportunity to earn their Jewish emblems and awards at a workshop on February 4th. Finally, on Sunday, February 25th at 1 p.m., we have a special program called Portraits of Faith. This is a unique traveling exhibition and educational program that is created to help us dismantle our misperceptions of those we consider to be the other. Created and curated by Gina Alisea using the content of Daniel Epstein's Portrait of Faith documentary project. We will be joined for this program by members of the Presbyterian Church at Boundbrook, but the event is here at our temple. I know something about it. I know the person running it. We look forward to seeing you next Friday night for our Erev Shabbat service at 7 p.m. Just a reminder that the best places to learn about what is taking place at THS are through your weekly email e-blasts and the temple website. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Well done. Practice that for months. Perfect, yeah. Again, a very special thank you to everyone who helped put this evening together, to those on the bima, to Ian, to Kylie, to John, to Nicole, to our entire Shul of Rock band, to our harmonizers, and a very special thank you to Lynn Ann Cutler, who helped put together all of the moving pieces of this service, who helped lay out the music, who helped tie everything together with such a beautiful bow on it, including this very last closing song. Not just a beautiful piece, and not just beautiful words, but a score from the Prince of Egypt, once again highlighting the moment that we find ourselves in Torah, the moment we find ourselves finding our path to liberation and freedom. So again, if you know it, we invite you to sing along. If you don't, fake it till you make it. The words are on the screen. Yasher Koach. So I promised to show you what is under here. There is one more thing about this week's Torah portion that is unique. Traditions that you might remember from your bubbies or your zadies back in the day. Does anyone know what it is? Anyone's grandparents, great-grandparents used to do something odd the evening before Shabbat Shira there, remember? No? So there is a tradition that the evening before Shabbat Shira, before Shabbat starts, you are supposed to feed the birds. And oftentimes you hear stories of people in the Yiddishkeit world whose grandparents put out a little dish of food, of birdseed, the evening before. Why the evening before? Because according to Halakha, to Jewish law, you are not allowed to feed animals that do not require your care on Shabbat. You can feed your dog on Shabbat, but you can't just feed a random pigeon on Shabbat. So they leave the bird seed out. Now, why do we feed birds on Shabbat, on a Shabbat Shira? That sounds like a completely random thing, right? And there's three midrashim that people kind of cite. One, I think, is the most universal. Birds themselves are the most natural of singers. We think about things in nature that sing to us. It is the song of the bird. It is the call of that bird. And so they join in the chorus of song, and so we should be honoring them this evening. The second is that the birds joined in with us in our song as we walked through freedom in the Red Sea. There are midrash that talk about birds that encircled the Israelite people and followed them, and their songs added to our songs as well. And finally, my favorite is that as the sea was parting and as the Israelites were walking through what was below them, but all the growth from the bottom of the Red Sea, the sea of reeds, so they went and they picked up and they picked the seagrass and they picked the mangroves that were growing in the bottom, and they fed it to birds along the way, and the birds then followed us to our freedom. And so we find ways to honor them on this Shabbat. And so in honor of that, Lenann did an incredible, incredible job and baked for us our very own bird chalot. Isn't that amazing? I know. So I'm going to call up our harmonizers. You guys can take a bird. Only pick one. There are sprinkles for eyes, yes. Very good. They are truly incredible. I don't know, little tushes.
There's no tummy.
All right, but wait, get up here. Because you got to join me. Tough decisions. That's a good one. Big tail. All right. So together, everyone can join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem haaretz b'tei avon Shabbat Shalom. We invite you to join us for a delicious oneg outside where you too can feed these incredible challah birds. We wish you a very wonderful Shabbat Shalom, a wonderful weekend, and we hope to see everyone soon. Shabbat Shalom.
Wait, how is this taking
Leave. Cool. You good? I always love seeing you here. I know. Awesome. Always love to have you. It was good? School's good? Good? Awesome. What? Oh, yeah. I figured from the shirt. Yeah. You like it? I know it's a very different vibe. Small classes are a lot more like focus on what you want to do.
I'm used to it for a minute. It's a heavy
Yeah, far and away.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my God.
So it's big for Hungary.
Yeah, right.
But it's, I mean,
Yeah, think about watching hills. Forget about it. Right. Yeah. It's amazing. Oh, awesome. 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 Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Always a pleasure. Yeah.